Welcome to the REKAP Lunch Hour with Guff, me, Ryan McGuffey, here on the REKAP and at the ballpark at the rate on this beautiful Thursday afternoon in Chicago. I am Ryan McGuffey, and it's all brought to you by our proud partners at Hooters. Visit originalhooters.com and to see and visit one of the 11 Chicagoland locations nearest you. Beautiful day for baseball here. Got to catch up with some of the White Sox personnel. Did a sit down with Davis Martin that'll drop on the White Sox Recap podcast later tonight. Talked to my good friend Ethan Katz, and the big news that just broke here about 30 minutes ago. I'm going to read the press release so we can get into this because I do see a boatload of questions regarding this. So the White Sox sent a press release just about noon announcing a long-term ownership investment agreement. Here's what it says. The White Sox announced that Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia have reached a long-term investment agreement that establishes a framework for Ishbia to obtain a future controlling interest in the White Sox. As part of the agreement, Ishbia will make capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 26 that will be used to pay down existing debt and support ongoing team operations. The agreement provides that from 2029 to 2033, Reinsdorf will have the option to sell the controlling interest to Ishbia, and after the 34 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. Okay. Until such time, the Reinsdorf family will continue to own the controlling interest in the White Sox. Jerry Reinsdorf, chairman of the White Sox since purchasing the franchise in 81, remains the sole day-to-day decision maker for the club. So there's some definite clarification in there. This is not an agreement to sell the team today, but this is a long-term agreement to let you know that there is a path for new ownership at the end of this decade in 2029 when Justin Ishbia will be able to, in a 5-year period, make the decision to buy controlling interest of the Chicago White Sox. So it's 2025. Okay, so through the 29th season, Jerry Reinsdorf will be the controlling partner. Obviously, there's a million things that could happen between then and now, but Justin Ishbia has a path to be the principal owner of the Chicago White Sox eventually. So right now, they're using cash infusions from Justin Ishbia, Matt Ishbia, and his father to help pay off some of the debt that the White Sox have gone into here in the last few years. This is not abnormal. Having limited partners buy up part of partnerships to get controlling interest and help teams get cash infusion into their ballpark. Eric, tough loss for the Cubs. I'm not worried about this. There'll be days like this throughout the season. Let's get the series win tonight and move on to Detroit this weekend. Obviously, Detroit here today. Landon says they switched the owners. They did not switch the owners. This is a path, obviously, for Justin Ishbia to be principal owner of the White Sox at the end of this decade. Landon Luis Robert was supposed to be in the lineup today, but a ball ricocheted in the batting cage and hit him in the head. I did see him on the field earlier, just to clarify. So Luis Robert was on the field getting some work in. Eric, there's clearly a much better feel in the Bears organization now that we have one of the most detail-oriented coaches in Ben Johnson. Looking forward to this season and beyond. Landon says hi to Eric, Becky, and Clyde. Becky, feel bad about Boyd having a good start with no offense. Those things happen. Talked to Davis and Martin about that exact thing. When you're not getting the offense, you got to go out there and control the controllables. David, I called it in the first inning last night. I said if the Cubs didn't score, if they're loading the bases with no outs, it would come back to bite them. Can't let Gore off the hook. Yeah, pretty incredible. Cubs had 3 hits to start the game. They did not have a hit again until the 9th inning. Jess, I can't believe it. Reinsdorf actually did the impossible and got Comcast to actually pick up CHSN. So that's the other big news for the White Sox. Starting tomorrow, they will be available. CHSN will be available on the Platinum tier on Xfinity. So certainly good news. I'm already told that tomorrow's game at the rate is a sellout. It's Mexican Heritage Night. Last year that was on a Wednesday. It was super popular. They sold out then. It is a Mexican Heritage Night tomorrow. It is sold out. The game will be on CHSN, and the game will be on Xfinity. Of course, the Platinum tier. If you want that game on Xfinity and you don't have the Platinum tier, you have some work to do on your own today. You're going to have to call and upgrade the package to the Platinum tier because that's where CHSN will be found. Certainly a good news for CHSN, who have been battling for the last, 8 months to get a deal with Xfinity. but they will be on the platinum tier. Erica, good afternoon. Appreciate you. Lip Ripper says 2034 can't come quicker. That is obviously excitement to the possibility of new ownership. 2034 is when Justin Ishbia can flat out make the decision on his own to buy the team and buy the controlling interest. There's nothing contractual. Jerry can decide in 2029 to 2033 to do so. Okay. So there's no path, at least in the language that was sent out today, that Justin Ishbia would be buying control of the White Sox before 2029. So I just want to put that out there. I want to be very clear about that. Thomas, only the third time the Cubs have been shut out this year. They'll score 15-20 tonight, probably. My guy Al, who I'll see here very shortly, big day in Chicago with Comcast picking up CHSN and Vinny starting in short. Can't get much better. Becky, Manfred wants the automatic strike zone next year. Just in talking to players, I think that I don't see how that happens. I don't see how the union makes the agreement to allow that to happen. Players aren't all that high on it. And there's been some guys in AAA that I've talked to who I wouldn't say are indifferent. They have feelings about it. Just, okay, that makes sense why Comcast picked up CHSN. Ishbia will end up being the new owner. Sox will be World Series champs in 2034, says Jess. Wonder how much an MLB team will go for in 2034. That's a great point, Breck. So the Sox are roughly around $2 billion right now. The ballpark situation between now and 2029 will certainly have clarity. I know that it's Jerry Reinsdorf's wish to have the All-Star game here at this ballpark in 2033, which will be the 100th anniversary of the All-Star game, of course, the first of which was played at Old Comiskey Park across the street. But you would think it'd be at least, even the White Sox would be at least double. I mean, you're talking 2034, you're talking about 9 years from now. So you would think it's probably at least $4 billion, but if you own the ballpark, $5-6 billion, it's kind of laughable when you think about it, because the Ricketts didn't even pay $1 billion for the Cubs back in 2012, 2011. Happy Thursday to you, Kyle. So relieved that Xfinity and CHSN have reached an agreement. My mom is a huge Hawks fan. My grandma's a huge Bulls fan. Glad a deal's done so the teams can have more viewers. Certainly no doubt about that. We ignore you, Clyde, right here. Even ignoring you about the Northwest. I'm just flat out ignoring you here from the ballpark. Erica, now start a path to sell the Bulls. I don't see that happening, Erica. The Bulls own the building. They're top 5 in attendance, top 5 in merch. They own the United Center. It's a cash cow. But I hear what you're saying. I told you that after the stadium news, this would come out. Eli, interesting point about the timing of this. There's been so much talk about the Chicago Fire in their stadium at the 78 this week that this did kind of hit us. No one really expected this. We were all down here at the ballpark, and we're all like, boom, it hits your inbox. And it was like, wait, where did this come from? There is a path for a winning year for the Sox. Too bad there isn't one for the Bulls. Becky, of course, go OKC tonight. I have a bet of the day coming up. Lip Ripper. So we got at least one more rebuild until 2034. I know it's frustrating, man. It gets super frustrating, but this is certainly, there's at least a path here to new ownership for those of you who are looking for it, because they're calling it a long-term ownership investment deal where the Ishbia's funnel cash into the system now with the opportunity to buy later. If he buys a team, they're moving to Nashville for a fact. Peanut Butter Ninja, he is building a compound up on the North Shore. Take a look at it. Search Ishbia and Winnetka. Okay, they are building an absolute monstrosity of a home on the Lake Shore in Winnetka. This team is staying here. I really believe that. If it's purchased in the next 8-10 years, it will be staying in Chicago, in my opinion. Eli, are they going to spend the money of it a little bit next year? I think you're talking about the White Sox. We'll have to see. They're going to know a lot more about the roster and the guys they have coming or lack thereof at the end of this season. And then in terms of spending, with the 2027 labor agreement up in the air, we'll see. I don't think the White Sox are a year away, okay? I think it's probably 2 years away, which puts you right in line with the new labor agreement and free agency. So it'll be interesting. I do think they're going to have to spend some money to bring in maybe another veteran pitcher and certainly a position player or two. Adam, what do you think the goal is for the next 3.5 seasons? Keep rebuilding and hope the young guys pan out, or Jerry spends some of Ishbia's money next year? I think the goal is that they have a path to getting competitive in the next 2+ years. I really do believe that's the goal. I think that's what Chris Getz would tell you. I think personally 2027 is the year for that, where they feel like they should be at least talking about a wild card push, one of those 3 wild card teams. So that's, I think, the goal is to understand who you got this year, who's going to be part of the plan going forward into 26. And by the end of 26, you need to know that you're pushing forward and trying to be competitive in 2027. The real Phil Simms. Good afternoon. What a way to start the Stanley Cup Finals. McCase's and Leon definitely did the damn thing. It'll be an epic series. Yeah, I knew I was watching that game. It was fantastic. Anytime you get an overtime Stanley Cup game, I knew as soon as the Oilers tied it at 3, I'm like, this doesn't feel good for the bet of the day anymore. I said, if they tie this game, it could be tough. And obviously, once it got to overtime, and then the Oilers went on a power play near the end of the period, that was all she wrote. McDavid to Draisaitl, ball game over. Justin is all about Nashville. Sox are moving there when he says the Peanut Butter Ninja. I know they own the soccer team down there. Nashville's fantastic. It could be. I'm not going to poo-poo that, Justin, that 10 years from now that the team couldn't move. We'll have to see what it is. We will. We'll have to see. But I'm also not poo-pooing the fact that they're building a compound on the lakeshore on the North Shore. Most importantly, Guff, did you or Cap ask Ishbia to come on the recap? I know that Cap has actually spoken with him in the last 2.5 months. Now that this is a little bit more formal and actually out there, maybe just maybe there's something to that. Godfather with Reinsdorf, the worst owner in sports, period. Don't have a lot of negative on the Cubs today. Whoa. Did Godfather wake up on a different side of the bed? So I'll say Ricketts has been and always will be cheap. Bizarro. Clyde, thank you for always acknowledging me on here, Clyde. Hey, you're welcome, Clyde. Maybe there's 2 Clydes. I acknowledge one, I ignore the other. Thought the Xfinity tier was ultimate, or is that the same as platinum drop cable? It is, Kyle. Ultimate, platinum, to me, are the same. It is a tier up from where Marquee currently is, where NBC Sports Chicago formerly was. You are going to have to change your cable plan in order to get CHSN. I will say this. That's not the CHSN wanted to be on that lower tier, trust me. The eventuality here of all RSNs and cable networks is they're all going to end up on the ultimate tier. Marquee probably will end up there next year. We don't know that for fact, but eventually you're not just changing your cable bill to get one channel. There's like a package of 25 or 30 channels in the ultimate tier. More money to watch crappy teams with bad owners, says Godville. Peanut Butter Ninja won't put it away that the Nashville Sox are coming in 2032. Great game last night between Edmonton and Florida. If the other games are like that one, it'll be mirror the Bruins and Blackhawks 12 years ago. You're right, Godfather. Both owners are cheap, says Tim. Phil, good afternoon. If the Cubs don't want Gore at the deadline, someone will want him. He definitely put on a show last night. Cubs should really look at him. Dude, he was absolutely filthy. You have Matthew Boyd get to flirting with a perfect game midway through the game. Mackenzie Gore, like getting out of that bases loaded, nobody out situation with strikeout, pop out to end the first inning. Even I didn't think, well, this is it for the Cubs, but he got locked in. We've seen pitchers do that where you just get locked in after getting in trouble early in the game. It happened to Sean Burke earlier this year, same kind of situation. So, Becky, Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia have finalized a long-term investment deal. Yep, I just have been reading that, and that's what we're discussing here. Let's get WGN and C-Dub to put the Cubs back on, and we'll be cool. Clyde, unfortunately, that's not happening, pal. I've talked about this for a long time. WGN doesn't have the money to spend on rights fees that it takes to get these deals done. They had a long-term agreement that went way back to the 40s and 50s. They were paying pennies on the dollar to what NBC and Marquee are paying now. That's why there's exclusivity, and that's why they bought out over-the-air products, because they weren't making money off of them like they were with the RSNs. Jerry will be like in 95 when the deal to sell the Sox is complete, and that's correct. Okay? We can't sit here and plot. I mean, those are just facts. So there's at least a term agreement that's been publicized. What happens before then? Until there's news, Jerry Reinsdorf is the sole, what does it say? I'll read it exactly. Sole day-to-day decision maker for the club, and that's not changing. And they don't have to put anything out between now and then to change that. Let's talk about our partner here, our proud partner, Hooters. Great place to be. Good spot to be today for lunch with the tender tacos, the shrimp tacos. Of course, the drink of the month, the blueberry lemonade infused with blueberry puree and bullet bourbon, go to originalhooters.com, visit one of the 11 Chicagoland locations nearest you. I like to do the order.hooters.com so I can slide in, pick up my order to go, maybe have a Big Daddy mug, and cheers the guy next to me, pay it forward, full of Blue Moon, full of Summer Shandy, full of Dos Equis, plenty of specials all summer long at Hooters, originalhooters.com. Back to the show, back to some of these comments. Since the Sox haven't been competitive since 2021, does it take all of this losing for Jerry to do this? Real sad. I'll tell you the truth. What happened yesterday with the fire, it hit a serious nerve. The White Sox can still build a stadium on the 78. I think there's some misinformation out there. There's like 50 plus acres. The fire said they need 9. This does not prohibit the White Sox from getting a new stadium at the 78. It does not. Okay. Private funding, public funding, there needs to be a lot out there that's discussed about this. But for now, this does not prohibit the White Sox from having a new stadium. Seems to me the Oilers learned a lot from last year's final. We might be in for a script flip, but the Panthers could win the next 4 because they're that damn good. That was a coin flip game last night, as we know. Is this a response, says David, from Jerry because his fire striking a deal in the 78? What if Jerry expires before the 2034 season? I'm sure there's language in the morbidity of that clause, David. I'm sure there's language in that could move that up, or somebody else would have controlling partners or ownership or proprietorship until 2029. In terms of did it strike a nerve and they had to get a press release out today because of the Chicago fire, I'm going to say no. I think if you're reacting like that, it's a very closed-minded way of thinking. They're still trying to get a stadium on that property. Okay, this is, again, the fire having a stadium on the 78 does not prohibit the White Sox from doing that. There are rumors that Aroldis Chapman could come back at the back end of the bullpen, which I think would be really, really cool. And if that were to happen, talk about the 2016 comp, Lip. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup has underwritten all over it. You're probably right. Dustin. Mackenzie Gore would look good in the Cubs rotation. Still feel like they're going to get Alcantara. Clyde has Edmonton winning the Stanley Cup. Mo arrived late, but what if you're getting the Sox, Bulls, Blackhawks games on antenna? Why would I go back to cable? Mo, I can't definitively say this, but I don't think the antenna has a long shelf life. I think part of the deal is that the antenna eventually will go away. Unfortunately, for those of us who went out and got one, I think that could be in the plans. I don't know if it's immediately, but I do know from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like the antenna will be long to stay, because why would Xfinity have made that deal as well? Chances that the Cubs are calling up Jonathan Long for some right-handed punch this season, evident that Carson Kelly is going to regress back to the norm, and it's clear that Turner can't slug anymore. I think, Terry, they're going to put everything in the blender. There's nothing off the table. That Jonathan Long could be here at some point. Since the Sox haven't been competitive since that's the one I already read. So the Reinsdorfs are really keeping the Bulls forever. I love that we've moved. Okay, like there's Sox news. Now what about the Bulls? There's nothing to say about the Bulls. There's nothing. The difference there is that his son is in control of the Chicago Bulls, and that's not changing anytime soon. Sure, you can't get this guy on the recap for NASCAR interviews, but the owner of 23 Racing, Michael Jordan, wishful thinking. That would be awesome. Thanks for the great show. Appreciate you, Pablo. A billionaire in Florida just said the White Sox are a real possibility to go to Orlando. Like, we're talking about a decade from now. Peanut Butter Ninja's he's trying to get us to go anywhere. Turner can't hit with his bat anymore. Remember, Guff, that I believe that Gore was the centerpiece of the trade with Juan Soto and the Padres in 2022. Isn't there club control with him? I believe here. Let's take a look. Mackenzie Gore, I would say for sure, has club control, which could also make that extremely difficult and very pricey. He's not a free agent until 2028. So, yeah, there is control. How about Boyd again? That dude's been the Cubs' unsung hero. Totally agree. Braves winning right now, only 6 back from the wild card spot. Might be buyers. They have to jump 10 teams, 6 teams. I don't see it. Bizarro. I have Florida winning the Stanley Cup Finals. Watching Gore last night reminded me of vintage Cliff Lee. Good name. When he was with the Phillies, imagine him in the rotation with Steele and Managa, and the Cubs would have the best lefty trio in all of baseball. David says a Talkman reunion with the Cubs would look great. PCA hasn't had a day off all year. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Did you see Sparky, the fire mascot, troll the White Sox after the announcement about the 78? I did not. Interested to see if the Sox respond with the Southpaw troll. Good way to kick off your potential future neighbor. Usually the Sox don't play like that with their social media account, but It would be kind of fun. Bill Wirtz is turning over in his grave. Home games on a lot more TVs. Yeah, that was a big reason why the Blackhawks, a lot of people tuned out the Blackhawks in the 90s and early 2000s because they couldn't see them. Move to Orlando would be so White Sox. I don't see it happening. Could this news be directly? A lot of people saying that, but I just don't see it. What a great place to offer opinions and questions on sports. Everyone's doing a great job spelling. Thank you, the Recap channel, for a great environment. Happy to have you along the way. I used to have to go to a movie theater to watch the Hawks in the playoffs. I know. Absolutely crazy. We've been talking about this in our partnership with NASCAR. One of the coolest things in this city this summer, the NASCAR street race, the only street race in the NASCAR circuit, July 5th and 6th, the Xfinity series on the 5th, the NASCAR Cup series on the 6th. We're giving away tickets. You can use them all weekend. You can go Saturday. You can go Sunday. You can go to the Zach Brown band concert on Saturday and then go to the race on Sunday. You can go to both if you'd like. We're giving away grounds passes and reserve seat passes all month long here on the Recap. You can also buy tickets to the NASCAR street race online, but we are giving away 12 pair of tickets right here, including driver interviews. We'll have driver interviews leading right here live on the Recap Lunch Hour, and we'll have a longer form sit down, probably with Kyle Larson, it sounds like, as we get closer to the race on July 5th and 6th, which will be awesome. I've been down there for it. I think it's really, really cool. Appreciate that, Peanut Butter Ninja. I'll take a little look at that before we do the show tomorrow. I'm thinking the Cubs will be proactive and not wait till the deadline. If so, that's a really smart move by them. Let's get to the bet of the day. It's been a rough week a little bit, folks, right? The bet of the day, felt pretty good about it yesterday. Felt really good about the Florida Panthers, who have historically been one of the best, or they have been the best road team in the history of the playoffs. However, the game went to overtime, and we know what happened from there. So today, I've told you guys how I feel about the steal market. Speaking of steals, plus 160 on Tyrese Halliburton. I know the defensive metrics of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know that they're the best defensive team in this series. But I'm going to give you, and I know the Knicks are a different team, Halliburton steals, okay? Halliburton steals in the playoffs. He has, where's it at here? I had this up. He has 22 steals his last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games. But listen to his last 5 games. 3-2, 4-3-2 steals. At that price of plus 160, it was plus 120 in the series against the Knicks. I'm jumping on it, and I don't care if I take the L. I like the value here for a guy that's been really hot defensively and tough to guard. Tyrese Halliburton, 2+ steals at plus 160 is something I really like. NASCAR should use the I-355 for the course speed limit's 150 as it is. That's funny. The Illinois Tollway wouldn't like to hear that because they have their slow down campaign, but I hear you. NBA Finals start today. Who you got? I like OKC in 6. I think I'm also going to ride with that, even though I wouldn't mind seeing Indiana take care of it. So there's the bet of the day. Tyrese Halliburton, 2+ steals. The big breaking news before we came on here, Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia announcing a long-term ownership investment agreement to obtain a future controlling interest in the White Sox. As part of the agreement, Ishbia will make capital infusions into the Sox as a limited partner in 25 and 26. They'll be used to pay down existing debt and support ongoing team operations. The agreement provides that from 2029 to 2033, Reinsdorf will have the option to sell the controlling interest to Ishbia. After the 2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. Any such event of such a future transaction, all limited partners of the Sox would have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. Until such time, the Reinsdorf family will continue to own the controlling interest in the Sox. Reinsdorf, chairman of the Sox since purchasing the franchise in 81, remains the sole day-to-day decision maker for the club. So putting that all out there, those are the facts. That's where we are. Gogol, are you willing to pay $1,000 to $2,000 more in property taxes to get the new Ishbia Stadium? This is something that needs to be explained more, okay? Your property taxes aren't going to pay for a stadium. That's not how it works. When you look at your hotel bill and you stay in Cook County and it says 2% tax, that's where the income's coming from, that 2% tax. Now, you can argue all day about, is that right, that you're getting taxed in a hotel that's going to help pay for – fine, that's another argument. But my property taxes aren't going up $2,000 to help any team build the stadium. That's just a fact. I know that it's hard to understand that, but taxpayer dollars, you don't pay property taxes to funnel stadiums. That's not how it works. They tax you in other spots. Usually they do it through, food, beverage, entertainment, hotel stays, etc. So if you do a staycation or you're coming from out of town and stay downtown, you'll have a Cook County tax, 2%, blah, blah, blah. It's like $32 on your bill. That would help funnel it. So that's one of the ways that they could do that. Breck Bear, the days of people voting to pay for stadiums is over. I completely agree. Love the bet of the day. Appreciate it, Lip. Let's do it. Crook County, we know it. And Watson, if the Sox evaluated talent like Cleveland and investments were made in that department, the Sox long-term winning would look great. I actually think behind the scenes they have done that. They're doing that more than they've ever done with Chris Getz. Again, facts. Do they lead to wins on the field today? No. But the sustainability of that, they could come. There is a path for Justin Ishbia to become the principal owner of the White Sox, and we went over it here on the show. Appreciate you guys greatly. Cap and I are going to stay for the game today. Take in a beautiful day. Very hazy because of the wildfires, but so be it. It's been the Recap Lunch Hour with Guff, me, Ryan McGuffey. For everyone here at the Recap, I'm glad we had some breaking news before we came on because we clarified exactly what's in the deal. Have a great day. Let's cash our bet tonight so we can get back to a 3-3 finish to the week and keep our streak alive of winning weeks. I think that would be awesome. It's all brought to you by Hooters, originalhooters.com. Visit one of the 11 Chicagoland locations nearest you. Order.hooters.com to pick up your order to go. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.